Hey, it's Jordan. I'm live here, Chicago, nice little park, and I'm with Anthony Clark. We haven't seen each other in a while. You ran for Congress, 7th District, Chicago,
Yes, sir.
Justice Democrat, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Put everything you had into it and had quite quite the establishment go after you.
Definitely.
Yeah, president, but this violence and this systemic, I kind of see it as terrorism going on in Chicago, has been going on for way longer. And just one number that I find staggering, like I said it earlier on a live stream, and I was like, I have to be wrong, but I looked after and I wasn't. The Chicago has paid $624 million, $624 million in police case settlements with families since 2004. That is $624 million can do God knows how much in Chicago.
Do a lot of good.
Right. Let's start with, for those who are unfamiliar, there was some pretty high-profile police killings in the last couple weeks here. You had a barber named Harith Augustus,
Snoop.
Snoop murdered. Maurice Granton, who was 24, he was shot as he was running from police. They shot him from the back as he was climbing a fence.
Stated he was armed.
Stated he was armed. His family just announced they were suing today. So talk to me, because you've been involved in the activism, I think, around both. From your eyes and from activists here, what happened with those two cases, and is it more of the same as far as the police just basically doing whatever the heck they want?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think, I'm hoping most people know, as we realize the issues are systemic. So unfortunately, the issues that we're facing, the issues that we're marching against and fighting against, they're nothing new. Laquan McDonald, Officer Jason Van Dyke, his trial's coming up right now. I have a lot of friends that are mobilizing around that issue. So it's just more of the same in the sense of us versus them mentality. We have a state where our police forces are militarized. We have a city where essentially you have officers that are not from the communities they serve, have no investment generally in the communities they serve, no stake in the community. So essentially they're collecting a check. And they look at us, citizens of communities, young males, I know they look older than me, but, they're literally about to be seniors in high school. They look at us as, the enemy in a sense. So it's a huge issue, with Snoop. If you haven't seen the video, I know you have, but, to anybody, you need to look it up. You need to, pay attention to what's going on. Essentially, he was a positive member of society, a barber. He was part of the fabric of the Southside community that he lived and worked in, had children. He was a family man. So he didn't fit that narrative of, gangbanger or, negative influence on society. He was actually giving back to his community. Got off work, was just shopping. And, if you look at the video, he was approached by an initial officer. He was cooperating, based upon that footage. He had his FOID card out. He was doing what he was supposed to do as a citizen. And two officers that were late to the scene approached him in an aggressive manner. Now, we don't have audio, so we don't know what was said. But based upon that video footage, you once again have to ask yourself, as a black male in society, what are we not allowed to do? We're in a concealed carry state. Snoop had his FOID card, so he could clearly own a firearm. But because of the fact that I believe the police superintendent stated that he was approached for behavior appearing to carry a weapon, but we're in a concealed carry state.
What behavior? He was standing
Right.
outside the barbershop.
Right, exactly. So, it's huge issues in Chicago. The other shooting that we mentioned, they stated that the young man was armed. But if you look at the video now, when he was scaling the fence, clearly he didn't have a firearm on him. But he was killed. He was shot and killed.
I also want to point out, correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the video, it looks like they were shooting him while he was down as well.
Yes.
They didn't just shoot him as he was climbing the fence. They shot him while he was down, in no position to threaten anyone.
Right.
It was, to me, kind of barbaric. And then also they have, obviously, people see what just happened, so people surround, and then they start kind of rounding up upset people and arresting them.
Definitely, yes. The first night after Snoop was unfortunately tragically murdered by the Chicago Police Department, concerned citizens, community members gathered. They began to march. They began to try ways to raise awareness and bring a voice to this issue. And I mean, police were out there literally beating, peaceful protesters. You had officers, you could see videos of officers with their batons literally just swinging them, without any care. So that's the relationship that we have in our communities. And I think why, individuals like myself and others have to step up, have to mobilize, is because we don't have political leaders in our community stepping up and mobilizing for us. We don't have individuals speaking to these issues because of money, because of self-preservation. Many people aren't speaking up against Rahm Emanuel. I mean, I don't want to get too deep, but our former president, Barack Obama, this is his hood, his area. We're not in his area, but he calls Chicago home. He and Rahm are buddies. You never hear him speaking up about the atrocities that we face.
And as a reminder, I mean, Laquan McDonald, Rahm Emanuel covered that video up and that whole case. He was shot 16 times, Laquan McDonald. Rahm Emanuel covered that up right before his reelection in 2014.
Right.
So you have obviously political corruption. He's the mayor. You have a very powerful fraternal order of police here in Chicago that the Justice Department, a consent decree that was just handed down, basically with police reforms. Police don't want any part of that. And previous reforms have, I think, 20 out of 99 or something were actually implemented.
I mean, there's huge issues, and anytime something was attempted to be implemented, the CPD, perfect example, about a year and a half ago, they tried to roll out an initiative where they're going to hire, a greater number of minority police officers. So you had, black hopefuls, black males, black women, attempting and vying for positions within the police department. But something along those lines of that qualification process eliminated them, from becoming police officers. Because I truly feel, and others do, we need a community policing model. We need individuals that are from the communities serving their communities because they get it, they understand, they're invested. But we don't have that right now. And Rahm, I mean, again, he has to go. But, our aldermen, many of our state reps, many of our pastors that are tied into these churches, it's a money flow. They're all eating off the Rahm plate, essentially. So they're leading us astray. They're not necessarily speaking up and stepping up. But as a black male, that grew up in and around Chicago, like, I fear for my life, literally, every time I leave my house. Because
I forget, how old are you?
I'm 35. So you never know. Me getting in my vehicle and starting up and going somewhere, trying to help a student out, or, going to an event, that could be the last time I'm ever in my vehicle because of how our police departments operate. And, don't get me wrong. We do have some positive officers, but if we understand that the system's the issue, they have no sway or no say on what goes on in their departments. They're almost overwhelmed, and it's almost that gang mentality of the pressure not to speak up, the pressure not to step up and call out and hold your fellow officers accountable, and it doesn't happen.
Let me ask you, if you guys want to talk. I mean, you're going to be seniors in high school. I mean, obviously, like, I did some stupid shit when I was 17, but I mean, more or less, what's that mentality if you're doing things right, you're studying, I don't know what you do outside of school, and, like, it seems like in Chicago, I mean, you could just be at the wrong place at the right time. If you want to go protest something, you could get your head beat in, and if it even looks like you have anything on you, I mean, a cell phone, I mean, you could be shot dead. I mean, what goes through your guys' mind?
Like it's like the corruption, I don't feel welcome in the city of Chicago. It's like I can't get a leg up. I always feel like I'm pushed down, like I'm suppressed from actually achieving my goals. Every time I walk outside the house, I feel like I'm targeted immediately by the police and all that. And it's like I don't feel welcome in my own city where I was born and raised, basically.
And do the police, like, if you're ever around police, is there any interaction? Do they try to talk to you, or is it generally?
It's generally like, it's generally asking me like, what am I doing? If I'm with my friends and we look like we up to some, they'd be, oh, well, you guys, we got a report, when really there was no report because like there was no one around to report anything. And then I actually had an instance where I was harassed by the police, and then that didn't turn out well, and stuff like that. Like I don't feel welcome in places because I feel like I shouldn't go certain places because the police, I know, is strong there. So I'm like, okay, let me not go there because I know I'm not welcome or something gonna pop off if I go there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is when you black in America, period, it don't really matter where you at. You already know that you have this fat target on your back, and it's like it's not even by like accident, it's by force almost because they always think that you own something. It's like they despise the color of your skin and your presence. Like it really bothers them how you are. I remember a couple weeks ago, I was out with a couple of my friends. We was at 7-Eleven. I was waiting outside while they went in and grabbed food because I was still on the phone with someone, and a Caucasian woman approached me. She was probably middle aged, closer to 40, 50 years old. And one thing that they hate to see is a black man's pants is sag. That's something that people really don't like. And I just recently got my hair cut on Saturday, but I used to have like a lot nappier texture of hair. So they looked at me and labeled me as a thug, so to speak. And I've been in this suburban town my whole life. Now that don't mean that I'll let you run up on me, but I'm not gang affiliated. I'm not a thug. Any of that. I go to school. I record music, and I just like to hang out with my friends. And they label me as somebody that's completely different. She approached me and, in essence, said that I was styling a jail fashion by having my pants, sagging down, and said, "Oh, they'll arrest you for being this way and doing this." And mind you, I didn't say anything to the woman. I didn't initiate none of that. It's just you feel when you're black somewhere. It's never a moment when you're just like, "Oh, I'm human. I'm just out here. I'm enjoying myself." You already know that you're black anywhere that you go, and you have to always be aware of that before someone has to remind you, whether it results in your pride being diminished, or it results in death sometimes because people just hate you that bad. And that's something that we gotta deal with every day. Even when we out here being happy, laughing, and joking, you still have people that come by and they stare at you strange. Literally, while we're recording this interview right now, I've observed about 3 people walk past us and look at us like we're weird because there's one, two, three, four black men, and they probably think he's in trouble. I want
Probably true.
someone to explain that.
It's also interesting. I mean, I'm a white dude, so I obviously don't experience this, but it's almost like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like I've heard black parents give their kids messages on like how to respond to the police. Don't say anything, or this is what you should say. But you're up against a subjective and in many cases untrained or or poorly trained mentality of a police officer. So you could say or not say something thinking you're doing the right thing, and then what comes isn't so great.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you think about that civilians are essentially held to a higher standard than the officers that we're interacting with are, and they're supposed to be the trained professionals. They're the ones who chose to enter into the field to serve and protect, but yet they're not serving and protecting everyone in their communities. And, I've known these two young men since they were freshmen in high school, and I want people to think about it. I've taught math, I've taught history, I've taught English, but when you have to include how they should engage an officer when they're in the community within an English lesson, within a math lesson. Like we have to go beyond academics when I'm working with young black men, young black women, young black they, whoever they may be, because of the situations that we face. And you mentioned earlier that the city has doled out over $600 million in settlements. Rahm Emanuel right now, he wants to allocate $95 million for a cop academy, but we don't have $1 million for our youth. Like this is the future right here. This is we should be investing in. And as a teacher, every day it eats away at me when I have to look into their eyes and see that fear. When I have to look into the eyes and I understand that they don't feel like they belong in the communities that they're raised in. So it's a huge issue at hand. And generally, no one but, organizers that are on the ground, are really speaking to it and really talking about the issues. We have a mayoral, race coming up. There's about, I think, 10 candidates, vying for, Rahm's seat. But he honestly has a good chance to win because we have so many people that are still in their bubbles. They look outside and they don't have to experience this.
Well, I think part of that bubble, which brings us to the gentrification, has been created by Rahm Emanuel. I mean, gentrification is happening all over this country, but you look at Brooklyn, you look at even Manhattan, Chicago is an amazing example. I mean, really, you create a system that redlines, where you push, you push people out and poor people out, and then you deprive them services And then, frankly, you bring in and make it attractive by beautifying like a 10 to 15 block radius. You bring in young white professionals, like the managerial class that the Democratic Party still loves. Um, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. Much money has been invested in such a small radius, while the rest of the city has been basically left void of investment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're speaking to it. You know, I mean, you're preaching over here, but literally, we live in a community where you can cross a street. Like a street will separate opportunity from devastation, and it's and investment on downtown because of course that's a tourist attraction. You want to bring tourism money in, but again you could literally go 3 blocks west, 3 blocks south, 3 blocks, and everything could change. In the community we're in right now, this is Oak Park, so Austin community is literally separated a block from Oak Park in Austin. I teach at Oak Park Reforce High School, where they attend. You have families that are scraping by. We know living wages don't exist. We know we're losing jobs at an alarming rate. We don't have rent control in these communities. So, people are being forced out of their homes uh, due to investment, but they come here, they scrape by to send their children here, and yet and still they don't have agency over their own lives. So it's a huge issue. All the investment is being funneled to certain areas, and the only time that particular areas are invested in is when that shade of demographic starts to change. It's almost a joke that we've talked about in the past when you start seeing divvy bikes go up or like a Whole Foods. When you start seeing certain things come into a community, that community is going to change. And if you go into like Pilsen, if you go into like the Logan Square neighborhood, in a matter of like 3 years, the demographics have changed, the investment has changed, infrastructure has changed because of who they're trying to bring in and who they're forcing out. I mean, it's even a war on our homeless population within Chicago. I mean, Rome has destroyed our tent cities that houses our homeless veterans, that houses our homeless citizens. They don't even have support in the communities because, again, it's an eyesore. Human beings are an eyesore. So they're even being forced out and their tent cities destroyed. But we're not seeing that money. We're not reaping the benefits of the hard work that they're putting in. Their parents are paying taxes just like anybody else, but we're not reaping those benefits. And it's even in the school systems where, I've been teaching for 9 years now. The first school I taught at in the city, literally, we had 3 books, 2 computers, 3 books, and I taught freshmen through seniors in the same classroom. It was essentially a prison. I was housing individuals. But then you could go to another school by simply, again, changing communities, crossing the street. Every student has a laptop. Every student has an iPad. You have everything and anything that you can ask for. So property taxes shouldn't determine that.
Well, I also think it goes to beyond Chicago, the big lie that this economy is booming. The economy is booming now. And even my older brother, God bless him, works at a hedge fund, little dense. I love him. But he's, he looks at statistics and, the Bloomberg reports and all this stuff. But yeah, it's booming for very small, very few people and leaving the majority out. And that's the story. I mean, you want to talk 1981 to now, we'd be here all day. But important to note, as bad as Trump and as viscerally as everyone reacts, a lot of these cities are run by Democrats. And, Rahm Emanuel, the accountability for these officials, it goes to that bubble. But like you saw it in your race against Danny Davis, he's been in Congress for quite some time, and there's very little accountability. But I think we're starting to see, and tell me about if there's any positive stuff going on here, you're starting to see, I think, better and stronger organizing, starting with Bernie's movement. Now you're seeing Ocasio-Cortez's of the world, and even on the local level, even if it's not a congressional position. And you're also seeing Black Lives Matter comes together. I just researching for this trip, the No Cop Academy movement, Asada's Daughters, Black Millennials, Black Lives Matter Chicago. Talk about what's the way forward, because obviously you're not getting anything federally from Trump, and also, I mean, Emmanuel might as well be a Republican.
Right, and Mike Madigan, shout out to Mad Mike.
For those not from here, Mike Madigan, you want to think of the most corrupt, party boss, like the image of, you know, smoking the cigars, rigging the primary. That's Mike Madigan.
Definitely, and he benefits off property tax issues because he's a property tax lawyer. Anyway, so this this is the answer, right here. I think throughout history, at least since I've been on this earth, as a younger individual, too often concerned citizens get caught in that mindset of someone else is going to save us. Everyone sees the issue, we see the issue, we're experiencing the issue, but someone else is going to end up caring about us and come save us and come help us. And I think what's beautiful about the younger generations is they don't have that patience. They're not willing to wait. They're not willing to just knock on the door and hope that somebody opens it up. They're ready to kick the door down. So I'm actually still considered a millennial. So millennials in that younger generation, we're the ones that are mobilizing. We're not waiting for permission. We're not waiting to work within the system, because if you truly want to change the system, you have to work outside of it. Yeah, you can be part of it, but you also have to work outside of that system to change it. And I think that's what we're seeing now, with the No Cop Academy movement, with Asada's daughters, with everything else that's going on the ground in Chicago. We're the ones doing the work because of, again, it's a lack of education, honestly, if you think about it. Like, I ran my congressional race, and I learned a lot. I was naive in a certain aspect of it, because I'm like, you know what? We're motivated, we're powerful, we have the youth behind us. But when you see how the machine and the establishment responds, like it's visceral, like it's like a wounded animal. Like,
You had everything from them, like taking down your signs,
right.
challenging you in court. I
Right.
mean,
Challenging me in court, making me spend thousands of dollars. I mean, even to the point of being as petty as calling me on the phone, harassing me. I mean, there's no depth that they won't go in order to maintain power. And coinciding with that is they don't develop young leadership, because young leadership threatens the establishment. They want to hoard that power and maintain it. You see it on a national level. I mean, what's the average age of our Congress? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. And you see it at a local level. But again, we have young leaders, many of them you're going to meet on this trip, that are putting in that work, doing the work, organizing and speaking truth to power and educating the community, because our current politicians, our current elected officials, and those that are in power, they benefit from our communities being fragmented. They benefit from not, producing and developing young leadership and young talent. They want to keep us segregated. They want to keep us divided, but then they pimp off of it, essentially poverty pimping. They hustle off of the issues that exist, but they don't necessarily want to change the issues systemically, because then they will no longer be in power. So it takes that movement. When Snoop was murdered, when Laquan McDonald was murdered, we cannot allow that to become the norm. We have to immediately respond, immediate react. And it's interesting how, so many people who are in their bubbles, who are on the outside looking in, well, what does marching do? Oh, here they go, they're marching again. It applies pressure. You can't allow things to become normalized, and especially when we're not marching in our neighborhoods, we're marching in those neighborhoods that Rom is trying to develop up. We're making you uncomfortable. That's when you start getting a seat at the table to make decisions, and that's what we're essentially trying to do. We need a seat at the table. We need to be leading in the decision-making process, because these are the people that are being impacted. So it's huge.
for you guys, what's your mentality? Like, do you think, all right, if I just get good grades, like I'll be able to afford college, or if I can afford college, even if I have to drown myself in debt to do it, like you'll be considered for the same jobs, let's say in downtown Chicago or wherever in Chicago, or do you feel like you're way behind, or before you even started?
Like I feel like how one of my famous teachers said, like he not famous, but he famous to me. He said black people were at the starting line with white people. And he said, and white people had that head start way before us. So that's how I feel right now. I see, like, I'm in class with a white kid. He got the exact same grade as me. We could both get C's. And I feel like I'm still behind him regardless, because I have no way of getting ahead of him in otherwise with my skin color, with anything. And I feel it also when I apply for jobs, because I just applied for a job, actually, and I got denied once I interviewed for it. But my other friend, same credentials, same experience, he got accepted. I did, and I was like, okay. But
Like white kid?
yeah, and I felt I felt hurt by that, because I was like I have a drive, and I'm trying to strive in life. I'm trying to become the greatest anything. Like I'm just trying to be great, and I feel hindered in so many ways. I can't even get forward in life. Like it's disturbing to me.
What about you?
Well, one thing about school, I always said was school is about integrity and intelligence. When you in school, it's a lot of shit that you see and they just give it to you just to see, oh, how much can he take? You get homework, you get schoolwork, you get classwork. It's very rare that I feel like I'm actually being impacted or moved by the material that's being taught to me. It's just they trying to give you enough to see, are you ready to live life? Are you ready to be in this world? Are you accountable? Are you someone that we can count on? Do you have the capability to want to stay on a straight and narrow track? You getting the good grades because you keep turning in all your assignments and all your homework and stuff. But I know people that turn in all their assignments, all their homework. They don't know any of what's going on. Now me, I tend to not get the greatest grades, and that's not something that I'm like upset about because I don't look at school like my God. I don't look at school like something that's gonna get me the farthest in life. I look at God as who's gonna get me the farthest in life. Whatever you believe in. I'm not trying to say I'm no establishment. When truthfully, I could be the best kid in your school, but you know what? College ain't gonna get me where I want to go, and pretty much so far, high school hasn't gotten me where I wanted to go. I feel unfulfilled in life around all these white people, around all these people that are just sucking at my mom's taxes, sucking at our life, sucking at our physical health, our physical being. It makes me sick looking at the news every day like 14-year-old shot, 15-year-old shot, 6-year-old shot, rapes, stabbings and robberies, murders, and it's black on black too. I blame black people too. I think everyone's the fault because it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be to the point where we're trying to put it all together and all the pieces are in separate places. If I try to put two puzzle pieces together one more time and it doesn't come out right, I'm fighting somebody. I don't care. It doesn't make any sense. And life just doesn't make any sense. That's why I say school isn't that important to me. I like to be intelligent. I like to learn. Don't get me wrong. I love learning. But I love to learn what's going to actually benefit me. And I'm not gonna let the system keep dragging away at me because if I go on the path that they set up for us, which is you go to elementary, you go to middle, or you go to grammar, the K through 6, however it might be wherever you guys are. Or you go to high school and then you're like bullied into going to college because half these kids don't even want to go to college. They don't care about the shit. Like they go and they become things that don't even make them happy. They go and make money that's toiled for. They go and they live lives that exactly. You have to go and you got to pay what $30,000, $50,000 worth of student loans because you're in debt because you kept trying to pay it and you working two jobs and
You're lucky if you can get away with just 30 to 50,000.
I know, like I know it gets more than that, but you're 45 years old with two children still paying off your college loans, and you're in a dead end job with a dead end life, and you hate yourself and whoever pushed you to do that. I don't want to be that person. After high school, I'm jumping out there. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I might fall, I might hit my head, I might start bleeding, but I'm still gonna get out there because no one's gonna give it to me. And that's just how it are. Like he was saying earlier, our younger generation, we don't give a damn about waiting on somebody. We're going to get out there and we're going to do what we got to do because no one's going to hand it to us. We black and we proud and we're going to keep pushing because y'all going to see us.
Let me tell you something, man. I say screw. I say screw college, man. You should run for office because you got something that's rare. You got no bullshit. You got no bullshit, and you are very intelligent. There's a lot of different types of intelligence. My best friend got D's. Like he just didn't care about school, but he knows the most random stuff about China's financial markets and all this stuff. He just whatever. Like school wasn't his thing.
School isn't built for most people, and I'm gonna say this: school hasn't changed since it was created. It was founded. It was created so people can like. It was created so you could teach people how to work in factories. That's why it hasn't changed. So you can teach people how to work the jobs that were meant to be dead ends, so the economy could keep running. I'm gonna say it forever. There will be no. The rich class cannot succeed without a poorer class to strive on. Yeah, and they're like that's why they want to keep certain people down. They've chosen the minorities, the black people.
No, that's called capitalism.
Yeah, and it's not right at all.
Something to like speak to what he was saying about since school's been invented, it hasn't changed. I want you to go on Google whenever you watch this. I want you to type in
If they don't censor the damn thing.
exactly. I want you to type in classrooms in 1800s. What you gonna see is a bullshit ass chalkboard. You gonna see a teacher desk and you gonna see student desk. Now I want you to type in classroom in 2018. Well, you know what you're gonna see? A bullshit ass whiteboard. Wow, that's great, isn't it? It's new. You're gonna have a teacher desk, you're gonna have student desk. School hasn't changed because ain't shit
Only thing
changed.
changed, it became integrated. That's the only thing that changed about it.
Was I okay, teacher? Like, y'all had me questioning.
Oh no, you good.
Was I all right? Nah, don't feel pressure now. No.
The reason why you have certain teachers like Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark has never actually been my teacher, but he is our club leader, right? And he always looks out for me. This is like my big brother to me. And I'm gonna tell you why you have certain teachers that you have to get credit to, because they're teaching you, but they're not teaching you shit that you don't need. They teach you the regular curriculum that they're getting paid to teach you. Well, Mr. Clark teaches us other different things like in life, because he realizes that we're black young men just like he was a black young man. He still is a black young man, and we got to be out here and we got to fight just to breathe. That's literally so irritating. The fact that we gotta fight just to take our next breath. Because if I walk down there and I say or do the wrong thing and 12 decide they want to pull up, guess what's happened? I ain't gonna be on this interview no more. I'm gonna be at the Oak Park police station. For what? Nothing. And that's just that. And he makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, because at least I know it's more black people out here that's actually looking out for me. Black men.
Ty, I want to get you in on here. What do you think? Because I know you have some strong feelings. He grew up in Compton, so obviously a similar vibe. And also you have issues with, this building a new police academy. Obviously, the total lack of investment. I mean, it's kind of just paying off on behalf of the Chicago Police Department to keep the money rolling. That's what it seems like is going on. So what's your thoughts? I can hold it.
All right, I can just put it right here.
All right. Hold on, folks. The Tommy the Tiger's coming in.
You can sit down too. That's enough, bro. Go over there. Yeah. Making sure everybody in the frame. We good. I think I agree with everything y'all saying. I think as far as I know earlier today we had a live, and he had mentioned about the fact that they're good cops, and I think you just mentioned it. See, I don't feel that way. You know what I'm saying? To me, I feel like this. If you my partner, and which they do, because they're just a constructed gang. You know what I'm saying? They get mad saying, oh, they have code or don't snitch, so we can't police and do what we need to do because ain't nobody talking. Y'all ain't talking. They ain't talking. They ain't saying nothing. No one's turning nobody in. No one's saying, hey, dog, what are you doing? That's not how we've been trained. They're probably not saying that's how we've been trained, because that's how they were trained. And that's what they're supposed to do. But so I don't see some. I mean, there's cops that do good things. There ain't no good cops, though. Not if they're not going against the system, especially when they know they're wrong. They're human just like us. Right. You know what I'm saying? So if they can't look at it and say, you know what, that ain't right, because that could be my kid, that could be my child right there. And you know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the bigger issues in our community, dog, is that we got people policing. You know what I'm saying? In white communities, you know who police their community? Their neighbors. Their neighbors. Their kids go to the same school. No, I'm just saying, like the police officers, their kids go to the same school as the other kids. They got a stake in that kid's life. They love that kid. You know what I'm saying? It would be better if our police officers came from our neighborhoods, because they're going to love that kid, because they kids go to school together. They're going to want that kid to grow. They ain't going to want to kill that kid. They don't want to see that kid bad. But, you know, you got it's just an occupation. Dead ass. They come over here and they protect them from us. Period. That's the mentality. You know what I'm saying? Period, point blank, man. And that's what it is. I think what you were saying, though, about school, like, I'm dead ass going back to look at that video, because you had me hyped, because I think you're absolutely right. And that was a great thing to point out, dog, about, because I think for me, imagery is everything. Images, seeing it. And you look at that, you know what I'm saying? It was very concise, point and plain. 1800s, chalkboard, teacher desk, student desk. 2018, chalkboard, teacher desk, student desk, and it's it. And you have to have that mind state, because no matter what, you can get degrees. You know, I started late. I graduated from USC School of Cinematic Arts, and I was eager to do that because I didn't have anyone. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have any parents like trying to make me go to school. I was in the streets. You know, they was out, pops was on dope, moms was, what I'm saying? So I didn't have, so for me, it was like, but at the same time, I went to the best film school in the world, right? I went to the best film school, #1 film school in the world. That don't do shit if you ain't got no hustle. If you ain't got no grind about you, it don't matter what you learn out of school. If you don't know how to apply it and still network and be on your grind, then it's just money gone. It's just money gone. That grind to get you way further than any type of structural education, because when you have that grind, you're gonna teach yourself what you need to know. You're gonna learn what you need to know. And I thought it was real poignant what you said, man. You know what I mean?
That's deep. That's deep. I mean, well, no, you.
Okay. No. I mean, when you speak to that, what you just said, if you don't have that grind, that determination, once you go to school, whatever you're doing, whatever you decide to, that's gonna push you forward. You're gonna fall, and the reason why people fall is because they go into this curse of conformity, because everyone thinks that you go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, you raise a family with a wife, you do all the basic shit everyone else does. You live on the same block with all the white painted houses and everyone looks the same. You always wear a suit, because if you wear a suit then you're important. But I have on Vapor Maxes, jeans, and a t-shirt. I'm more important than half the niggas with suits on. I'm just gonna say it. You know, I don't look. Yeah, I don't look at people with suits on as the people that I want to be like. I don't look at people with the jeans on that I want to be like. I look at God first and foremost, and then myself, because like you said, if you don't have that drive and determination to get out and actually do what you want to do in life and not conform, because conformity will kill you. Conformity will definitely kill you, and it's going to depress you, and it's going to give you many other things that you're not happy with, which causes people to be alcoholics and addicted to all these other things, because they're so unhappy with life. They need coping mechanisms. They'll literally go to the extremes of ruining their life, because their life was already ruined, so they just push it even further. I'm already dead. Might as well just put myself 12 feet underground now, right? 6 more feet. That's why I don't want to conform to how life is, because once you conform, then your life's going to be boring and basic. You're going to be unhappy with it.
This kid is so right.
Oh, he's deep. He's deep. I knew it when I first met him. And I think with everything that we're talking about, one thing that I try to talk to you all about, and Ty mentioned it. We've been talking about it, is like two things: generational capital and privilege. I think it's interesting how this world is set up in the sense where, they tell you to grab yourself by the bootstraps. You make your bed, you got to sleep in it. Then we literally have a society that will make you believe that Kylie Jenner is on the same level as a Madam C.J. Walker. I don't know if you remember that article that just came out where they're saying that Kylie Jenner is a new self-made billionaire, when literally she's had things handed to her. And again, if your grandparents grinded, they made a foundation for you and handed it off to you. Nothing's wrong with that, but we have to attack that throughout history. With Jim Crow, with slavery, with redlining, they've prevented certain groups of people from building those foundations, and passing it down. And then one thing Ty was hollering at, like I'm at the point now where I don't even look at police departments or police officers or departments as a whole as a gang anymore. Like they are, they're the biggest gang in America, but they're a race to me. Like they're blue, like we got white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Latinx, whatever. They're actually blue. And I think police officers, like anybody else, they need to look themselves in the mirror and identify, are they willing to attack their privilege? Because as Ty stated, you have officers that, I've encountered, and I'm sure maybe you've encountered that, are good theoretically, too much, but theoretically are good people. But if they see bullshit going on around them, if they see an officer of theirs beating somebody, if they see an officer shoot somebody and then try and plant a gun, you have to attack that privilege. Because speaking up, yes, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. You may lose your job. You may not get promoted. You may lose friendships. But we have to do that on a micro and macro level too. Because even people that call themselves allies, if you're not an ally in verb form, if you're just an ally, you're calling yourself one. What gets me, we're getting deep now. We're kind of going off. But what gets me is, I don't know if you ever met people that say that, oh, I support Black Lives Matter. I'm about the movement. But my uncle's racist as hell. Or, like every cookout we have, or every family reunion, I have a racist uncle, a racist auntie, and they just hate black people. They hate Hispanic people. They hate the immigrant population. They hate Muslims.
Hell, they hate themselves.
But have you ever, again, attacked your privilege, made yourself uncountable, and confronted that? You know what I'm saying?
So many people I talk to about that, dog, dead ass. like they don't. I'm
They
like, y'all
don't.
perpetuating the shit. Can't
Exactly,
nobody change. I'm
exactly,
gonna continue to do it.
exactly. And they make people comfortable. That's how you get to a point where you have a large portion of society shocked that Trump's in office when he's essentially a byproduct of the same shit that's been going on for centuries.
Everybody thought it was
I
a
mean,
joke
America
until
has been founded on these certain oppressive isms and principles. So it should be a shock. What's up, little man? But I mean, it's interesting to me. People have to really look themselves in the mirror and ask what are they willing to risk and sacrifice if we truly want to make systemic change. Because if you're not comfortable enough talking to your own uncle about, either get out because you're racist or change your racist viewpoints, how the hell am I going to put confidence in you that you're going to change society?
I also think something you said earlier that was very true is people need to be better educated because part of this, you want to talk Trump, part of this is when you have a capitalist system that is really meant to basically put people in a herd, like put people in a pen, you know? So you have the people of Michigan and Ohio and Wisconsin and Illinois, white people and black people that had their jobs banished to other countries who haven't had investment. It's not like they basically sold out their jobs, took away the money with any contingencies to help them. Uh, that breeds trying to blame someone, and then you have hucksters and carnival barkers like Donald Trump come in, and it could take, I mean, I've met some Trump supporters that are good people that are just so friggin' clueless. Like, cry just like progressives cried at rallies because they think their job is going to be taken and things like that. But they think it's the Mexicans' fault or the Muslims' fault or black people's fault.
and and that's the thing when you speak on education, it's like you were never educated on this, so you can't speak on it. And then they think, oh, okay, when they hear Trump say, oh, it's the Mexicans' fault, then oh, it must be the Mexicans' fault. And then the media perpetuates it by saying, oh, okay, this percentage of people taking the jobs and this and this. And then and that's their only education. They don't read books, they don't read articles, they don't read anything else. And then when you tell them something else, they they feel as in you're trying to undermine them. Like you're trying to, oh, well, you're stupid. This is how it really is. No, I'm just trying to educate you. I'm trying to show you this is wrong. And I'm trying to show you another viewpoint on it. But you're so stuck on what the media is saying, what the majority of people are saying, till you won't focus on what I'm trying to tell you.
And, and to speak to something else, a whole volume of something else. When you look at people like he said, he met Trump supporters, and obviously, ew. But you know, he met Trump supporters, which are good people, because you know what, they're people, and this is why I don't support any party in politics. I don't like politics. I don't like any. I don't like. I don't like Democrats. I don't like Republicans. I don't like whatever the hell else goes on in there. It's kind of weird looking, because at the end of the day, everyone is a person, and you know what people do? People have opinions, and you know what opinions are? Like assholes. Everyone has one. People have their own separate opinions, and opinions don't get us anywhere, because you know what opinions aren't? Facts. And you know something else?
Facts aren't facts anymore either.
Exactly, because facts don't exist. Facts have not existed in a very long time. Facts aren't even in textbooks. All that George Washington shit y'all reading? No.
The victors.
Exactly. Another thing is, this is like, crooked has no color period, which speaks to everyone is a person. Therefore, Trump, bad. Anybody else, Democratic, bad. Any other party, bad. Because you have your good and you have your bad. It's about who you are as a person, not who you represent as a party. And because of what my homie said right here, when you're uneducated, you go with the majority says. Now, a majority of African Americans and, white people and a lot of other people are like, oh, I like the Democratic Party because they're the nice ones. And the Republicans are the rude, racist ones because, this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then when you look and it's like a racist Democrat, you're like, oh my God, like, wow. Oh, Jesus. It's like, wow, this is a thing. Yes, it's a thing because at the end of the day, everyone is a person. And what you need to realize is look at who the person is instead of looking at, oh, he's a Democrat, oh, he's a Republican. No, because at the end of the day, you're going to be screwed and you're going to get pissed off like everyone's like, what the hell? Trump's the president. Yes, he's the president. I don't like it. The person recording this probably doesn't like it. The person holding the mic doesn't like it. My homie. my teacher. No one likes that. But you know what? No one looked and said, wow, Trump is actually just a billionaire and he's feeding off of making money off of other people. So you thought him running the country was going to be any different? No.
And by the way, racism isn't just words. I mean, economic gentrification and brutality, and letting one class of people thrive, giving them investment, giving them resources, while leaving the rest to basically live in fear and squalor. That's racism too. That's what I think is going on with the current mayor. I want to ask you, we have the police no cop academy movement. It's hashtag no cop academy. It's a $95 million new academy. I don't know why they need this. It seems like the police department has plenty of money as it is, plenty of resources. And I mean, I know this is kind of anecdotal, but just eating breakfast today, like two cops just like, you know, parked their car in the middle of the road, came out. It's like the police just feel, more so in Chicago, like we run this place, and everyone's got to live in squalor. What are the next steps? Because obviously, I mean, every single time I'm here or just looking away, and part of it is the mainstream media does not cover Chicago as an emergency and an urgent crisis. They've allowed it to be normalized. So we cover mass shootings for like 2 or 3 days and then move on. But Chicago, I mean, the police killings, even on the local media here, it gets a little coverage and then move on. Is it the organizing that you think is going to systematically take cracks and finally get, the right politicians in? Is it, bringing more people like this on? What can people do in Chicago, outside Chicago? Because I mean, it's an emergency. More people are at risk of death. More people are at risk of extreme poverty to the point of homelessness. And the politicians here are making sure that continues.
No question. Yeah, I mean, the issues are interconnected. So for me, they require interconnected solutions. And I think this was, a great example of the importance of the work that we're trying to do and the importance of educating. Because this is the little homie. These are my little brothers. I care about them. I would give my life for them. I've known them for 4 years. But you heard him say, not only the Republican Party doesn't speak to him, but the Democratic Party doesn't either. And that leads to him, like I was when I was his age, essentially being jaded to a certain point where they're not invested, they're not voting, they're not paying attention. So for me, the work that we're doing organizing, that's essentially the front lines. We have to continue to push the message. We have to continue to push our agendas, but it's going to take changing policy. Because right now, all we're doing is essentially putting a Band-Aid over an open wound. You can't allow, of course, an analogy, you can't just allow somebody to die. Some people would, but if somebody's dying, you're going to try to care for them. You're going to give them first aid, but that's not necessarily going to address the wound that's killing them. It's just going to put off their death. So we have to literally save lives and change policy. So that's going to take educating the young adults to be registered to vote, educate even the older adults to be registered to vote. And if you are registered, who are you voting for? Because again, the majority of our Democrats, the majority of the Republicans, it's about the economy. It's the economy, stupid. And by keeping us divided, they're winning. They're taking these money from the corporations. They're taking money from banks. They're taking money from these top 1% of individuals that want to maintain a bottom. So, part of the education strategy is, to white individuals, to whoever calls themselves an ally in any situation, we have to understand at the end of the day, it's the economy. Who was it? Was it Lyndon B. Johnson that said if you could convince a white man, a poor white man, that he's better than a black man, he'll empty his pockets for you? So they keep us segregated.
And he launched the war that
Right,
killed
exactly.
a shit ton of black people.
Like, it's the economy. Like, y'all need to look up if you haven't. Chicago, we rep Fred Hampton, the Black Panther Party. Did y'all know that, like, the Black Panthers actually worked with an organization called the Young Patriots?
Yeah, I
So you
remember
had
those.
poor white individuals collaborating with the Black Panther Party because they realized we both not eating. You know what I'm saying? We both got ramen on the table and we're struggling. They collaborated. They worked together to try to make change. So we have to build those coalitions. We have to identify true allies in verb form because honestly, I'm tired of the individuals that march on Saturday, take a selfie picture, post it, get some likes, call themselves allies, but then Monday through Friday, they go back and work within the same system that has led to the issue that you're marching against. So we have to push these policies, Medicare for all. Housing is a human right. We have to, look at why minimum wage isn't tied to inflation. We need a living wage. We have to, ask so many of these questions that exist, but we need you. And I'm going to challenge y'all. Are you registered to vote?
No, not yet.
See, and I'm gonna challenge you this year. You have to be registered to vote,
Okay.
and they benefit from you being apathetic, from you being jaded. They benefit from that because that's how they maintain power. They've set up a society and a system where you're like, fuck it, honestly.
And like,
And they try to make you as hopeless as possible and jaded as possible so you won't come out and
I
vote.
mean, that's why Flint is the way it is.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
they saw the voting population in Flint, and it was like, okay, they're not controlling whether I'm in office or not, so we can do whatever we want, and there'll be no huge consequences unless somebody catches.
and like another thing is, it's not even like the aura of being jaded for myself personally, because I do pay attention. I look, I see these things. I look at politics. I look at Donald Trump, Putin, all these are. I look I look at everyone, and you know why? Because you gotta look at everyone. Now, my other individuals and everyone else that's kind of in the melting pot of America does not really pay attention. Like I said, they're uneducated, so they just go with the general flow of whatever's going on.
A lot of that also is white privilege.
Exactly. A big thing is today we like Democrats. All right, cool. Everyone's gonna shift to that. Okay, we're going towards the Democrats. That's cool, right? All right, that's cool. The thing about me not really caring about what the government says, does, politics, all this other stuff, is because there is no like person that I would be like, okay, I am legally registered to vote. Let me, strap up my boots, go down to the polling station, and go ahead and vote for someone. I'm gonna tell you why I won't do that. It's because there's no one that I desire to vote for. It's not even someone that's like bad but good enough to be like, okay, you know what, I'll deal with it. It's not all that good, but you know what? I'll deal with it. It's not even that. It's so bad to the point where you don't want to vote for anyone. That's why that people in the millennial generation and Generation Z, they're like, nah, we not fucking with this. We're not gonna vote for anyone because there's,
Vote for me last time. Am I gonna get that vote? Am I gonna earn it?
of course, because you know what? Not because I know him. It's because when you know about a person and when you study a person, you realize, okay, this is actually a good person. Now, I don't know what goes on inside of his heart, inside of his head, but I look at his actions. And I look at his involvement, and I look at his background, his history. You don't look at someone and be like, okay, let's vote for this dude. You look up, he's making homophobic, racist comments on Twitter back in 2012 because he thought it was funny and thought it was gonna be for shock value. No, you get people that are upright from the beginning to the end, from birth to death. You just get those type of people. Now, I would vote for him. And I would also vote for other people that I know, okay, this person's upstanding. It's not politics, it's about the person. Because once you go towards, right, once you start going towards politics, you vote for the Democratic Party, and then you get someone and you're like, wow, we really don't like this guy. And then you're like, oh, well, whose fault is it? It's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. Republicans, Democrats, this guy, this party, this support, this movement, this group, the Klan, Black Lives Matter, Black Panthers, everyone's to blame. But you know what? At the end of the day, when you trying to figure out who to blame, I want you to open up your smartphone, go to your camera, flip it around, look at your face, and be like, hee-haw, it's my fault. Because I'm the one that looked and voted for someone that doesn't benefit me, all because of a party that they're in. And I didn't study who they actually were.
And as we wrap up here, I want to ask the economic aspect of this, the ongoing, I mean, whether it's the police academy, whether it's Rahm Emanuel basically giving all sorts of goodies to developers, things like that. I think that the the capitalism link here is capitalism is not meant for the people that live in these communities. Capitalism is meant for people trying to redefine and recreate these communities. And I think it's behooving, whether it's in St. Louis, Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee, I mean, the list goes on, of people to come together and on the organizing front. And also there's been good efforts at economic actions that put the hurt on businesses that are supporting this brutality, businesses that are supporting certain classes of people but not investing in others. What more can be done on the economic front?
Yeah, definitely. I think also, I don't know if you could tell, I'm wearing a cannabis hoodie. Kind of interesting, but no, we have to identify, avenues, financial avenues to invest in our communities because clearly in our current leadership, they're not. They're investing in particular communities, and even when we do identify supposed financial avenues such as our lottery system, I mean, the money comes in, but then it gets, reallocated to other. It's not going to education anymore. Oh, we need it for this fund. We need it for this fund. But I'm all for one thing is the retroactive legalization of cannabis. Like I'm 100% in support of it because our black and brown youth and individuals and poor individuals are disproportionately targeted by our communities due to this plant. One issue, and if we legalize it, retroactively legalize it, that could be an influx of money that could go into investments, that could go into investing in our school systems, that could go into investing in education. So I think that's one of the issues that we need to look into, identifying different revenues of income that we could then invest in our youth, in our communities, in our infrastructure. And we have to be accountable and hold individuals accountable because what's going to happen, and it is, they'll legalize cannabis, but then we won't see a cent of it. The individuals that are always in power, you see it now. I mean, Republicans are coming out now. Oh, you know what? Maybe we should, decriminalize it at least or legalize it. They're going to see the benefit financially of that move and try to co-opt that movement. So we have to make sure that we maintain control, that we benefit from it because we haven't benefited from it throughout history. So things of that nature. Again, shout out to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York, the homie. Like, I'm so proud of her. Cori Bush in St. Louis, Sarah Smith, Charlotte Ridge. I mean, we have so many wonderful candidates, Adrian Bell in Texas, that are running for office, that truly, what you said earlier, are putting people before politics. And we can't be afraid. I think Alexandria, she stated that we need to get to the point where we support who's right, not who's going to win. And when you truly do that from these organizations like Our Revolution and Reclaim to people on the ground, you can see change, and Alex is truly a person that's representing us. We need to do that. We need to get people out of office that don't give a damn about the people that they're representing. So that's a huge issue as well. And just continue to, again, build relationships and collaborate with the young homies, with the youth, because they're the present and the future. And, these are leaders right here. If you're watching right now, and if you look at them and you don't see success, something's wrong with your eyes. You need to check your vision because right now this is success. Right now they're the future, and we need to get to that.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. We actually going to do, I think, another interview later. Tomorrow evening here in Chicago, we're getting together with activists, people who have been organizing, protesting, Poor People's Campaign, No Cop Academy, people on the ground after these police killings, people that know this city, know the problems. And again, yeah, we're in Chicago, but this speaks to people all over America. And if you are black, if you are brown, even if you're a poor white, definitely pay attention because you're not going to see this on CNN. You're not going to see it, frankly, in most places because most places only come if there's riots. They don't come like on a random Tuesday to have conversations that need to be had. So thank you for watching. Also, if you could support us at patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports, patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Ain't cheap. Going Flint. Cool, man. That was awesome. Yeah, we'll chop it up into small.